Honoring and remembering those who gave their lives serving our community. Saturday begins National Police Week across the country, and during this year's annual memorial service, 443 names will be added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. Among them, Metro Officer Truong, who was shot and killed in the line of duty on October 13th. It's a moment some officers and those close to Ty do not plan to miss.
Some are already on their way to D.C. for the service and to comfort one another. Our Kristen Drummond joins us live outside Metro headquarters where Officer Ty was stationed, or at least his substation. And so, Kristen, what's the last 7 months been like for those who knew him?
Well, Jim and Marie, the word I keep hearing is hard. That seems to sum it all up. I spoke with a colleague who is also a friend of Officer Ty, as well as his fiance. Both are planning to head to Washington, D.C. And while they say he is forgone, he is not forgotten in their hearts, as well as here in the department.
Some pieces we put on the wall.
Taking a stroll down the South Central Area Command hallway, an area not accessible to the public, but walked daily by Metro Police.
This is all things that have been donated to the station.
Tributes, all strategically placed to honor Officer Truong.
And the theory here is we put this here, it's kind of right in the center of the briefing room, to where he's kind of watching over us.
Giving Officer Greg Hilton comfort and a way to not only remember his colleague, but a friend who died in the line of duty on October 13th.
What have the last few months been like for you?
Well, they've been hard. It's a gap that can't be filled, right? Anytime you experience a loss like that.
What's going on, man?
The 23-year veteran of the department was shot and killed while responding to a domestic disturbance call around 1 in the morning near the UNLV campus. Police say the suspect, Tyson Hampton, fired at Ty and his partner. Ty shot back while lying on the ground after being struck by a bullet in the torso. The 49-year-old died at Sunrise Hospital and Medical Center.
Ty was all about that, serving his community and helping others. And that's what we try and do every day.
To honor his service and sacrifice, Hilton and Ty's fiance, Rosalie McDormand,
he was my best friend. He was the love of my life.
Plan to fly to Washington, D.C. for National Police Week.
His name's being put on the memorial wall in Washington, D.C. And that was just something I couldn't miss, so I've made my own arrangements to get out there.
It's a great feeling to be able to be a part of that. The 6263, because that was
McDormand continues to process Ty's sudden death. Looking at photos on her phone helps, but views this trip as a way to find some peace after not seeing Ty at the hospital.
I wasn't able to say goodbye to him, which is something that still hurts today.
McDormand says she'll participate in the memorial service by placing a flower for Ty. She does not see this as her final farewell.
It's not goodbye. It's just until we meet again. And that'll be a great moment. And I know that even though he's not here, he still has my 6.
And others like Hilton, who pass by the wall daily before going out to protect and serve our community, like Ty.
He was kind of very caring and loving and wanted to help support everyone, and that's why the wings were chosen, you know, kind of watching over us.
The partner who was with Officer Ty on the night he was killed also flew out to Washington, D.C. And coming up at News 3 live at 6, the other Metro officer whose name is going on that wall in our nation's capital, and how Metro is participating in National Police Week.
Social media threats have caused concern for local families. A message is circulating around the country, actually threatening shootings and acts of violence.
Some of those threats made their way here to Clark County, as we've been telling you. And Crisis in the Classroom investigative reporter Tiffany Lane is looking at how the federal government gets involved and does not consider these a joke.
Whenever a social media threat goes out, threatening of a mass shooting, for example, not only do local law enforcement agencies track that threat, so does the FBI. I spoke with Special Agent Spencer Evans about what he says is an increase in these threats and why he thinks they're happening.
And this is definitely one of those periods where there's been more than has been in recent history.
That's Special Agent in Charge Spencer Evans of the FBI Las Vegas Bureau. He's concerned as an agent and a father.
It's always hard when you see these threats to schools in a place that kids should be able to feel free to be focusing on learning.
Online threats are something many are talking about, including the top boss of the Clark County School District Police Department.
We have a lot of threats going around right now, and it's important that parents are aware of the activity that their children are involved in online.
A Florida student arrested last week after this post circulated online nationwide with graphic language threatening a school shooting. It reached our local schools as well. And then more this week, like this post threatening a shooting May 10th. One mother says she kept her kids out of school as a precaution.
You know, Texas Uvalde shooting, the shooter did post on social media, and that's why I decided to take this social media posting seriously and hold my kids out of school.
Threats come in from both in and outside the U.S. and are often started by juveniles.
So we see some foreign threat actors that are doing this, and then increasingly we see folks within the U.S., kids that think it would be fun or that it's a prank or a dare to do it.
What are some of the threats being made?
It's to blow up a school, to shoot kids at school, some sort of act of violence or terrorism, sometimes directed at specific schools, but more often than not tends to be more generalized.
That means they often do not have a specific school listed in the threat so that the messages can be used at multiple schools. What's the motive behind these school hoaxes? In the past, Evans says it was often simply to get out of finals.
It's part of a, kind of curious interest. The school hoaxes are often like swatting calls too, right? Where you're calling a SWAT team in a particular response because you're trying to elicit something out of morbid curiosity of what that looks like, either to observe or to stir up social media in some way.
He also says it can be a student's vendetta against a specific school or teacher. Evans says every threat is taken seriously because you never know which ones end up being real. But even when they're a hoax, there are severe consequences.
You are committing a crime, both at the state level and at the federal level, for sending an interstate threatening communication.
There are sentences of up to 5 years in some cases. He says the FBI and partners like the Clark County School District Police, Metro Police, and other agencies will get involved.
We're working hand in glove with those local partners to determine the nexus of the case, where the subject's located, and then who has the best investigative tool, and then also the best charging statute, whether it's local or federal.
Law enforcement officials encourage you to talk to your kids and monitor their social media. And if you do see something suspicious, contact authorities rather than share the post, which can cause more chaos.
Hollywood 2.0. We've heard that Mark Wahlberg says that's what he wants here in Las Vegas ever since he moved here.
And now it could actually be happening. That's what a new bill dropping today in Carson City hopes to do. News 3's Brett Forrest joins us now live from Sunset and Durango near the Beltway. And Brett, that empty lot behind you could become a major movie studio.
Yeah, good evening. It's really not much to look at right now, is it? But imagine a giant movie studio lot here in the Southwest Valley. That's what that bill proposed today in Carson City aims to do. They designated this site in the Southwest Valley near the Beltway and a spot in Summerlin to build out these giant movie studios. And Sony Pictures is part of the bill. They want to bring a production studio here. They won't move their headquarters, but they want to open up shop here in Southern Nevada. They're one of the big 5 movie studios that produces so many well-known movies that we know. So this bill is sponsored by Senator Roberta Lang, and she said it was a Newport Beach, California-based real estate development company that actually approached her for the bill. The more she learned about it, the more she liked it. And here's what she had to say about how it came about.
It was just perfect because it met all the criteria that I was looking for, which being a sustainable economy and jobs. And then last week, I got a call from the Hughes Corporation and Sony asking if they could be part of my bill as well. So we negotiated through the weekend about how we could add them to the bill, and we did. And so I feel like we have a really great partnership.
Action!
All right, and right now the Nevada Film Office tells me they have about 300 to 400 productions in the state each year. Most of those are shot in Las Vegas, but they say they can't compete with other states like New Mexico and Georgia. A lot of film productions like Netflix have moved to those states in recent years because they have the studios built and they have the tax incentives. So this bill would look to change that and make Nevada a destination state for these major productions. And a spokesman for Sony sending us this statement today. Part of it reads, Sony Pictures supports expanding film and television production in the state of Nevada, and they're prepared to commit up to $1 billion in production spend here in Southern Nevada over the next 10 years. So I asked the Nevada Film Office today, why don't we have studios like Sony already filming more movies here? And here's what they said.
We don't have a soundstage here that could support an entire season of, let's say, CSI Las Vegas or any one of the episodic television shows. We just don't have the infrastructure to support an entire program or feature film. They're coming here to film the plates and get the exteriors, and then they take the production back to the soundstage where they have the infrastructure to complete the rest of the project.
So Senator Lang tells me this bill already has a hearing scheduled for next Tuesday. So session's nearing its end. The bill just dropped, but it's moving quickly. And I do want to point out this bill has bipartisan support. There are Republican sponsors signed on to it as well. And she expects it to have broad support because, as she says, it'll help diversify Nevada's economy and create more jobs. Reporting live in the Southwest Valley, I'm Brett Forrest, News 3.
The time is short in Carson City, as you point out, Brett. Just a few weeks left up there for this session. But assuming it passes there, what's the timeline on this project?
Yeah, Jim, well, she says that she already has agreements in place with labor unions to help construct it, and the permitting process will take about 18 to 24 months to get all the permits for the land behind me, for example. Then she says she expects studios to be built quickly and have the first film in production by 2027. So it's a quick timeline, but with a hearing and text already out, seems like this is further along development than the A's Stadium, for example.
Subscribe to News 3 on YouTube at News 3 Las Vegas.